So welcome everyone to this a bit of a talk or session on feeling tone in mindfulness practice. So I pressed the record button this time, so hopefully it will all work. And let's begin by just doing a short opening meditation practice, just to arrive a bit more and to maybe settle some nerves. So if you want to just get comfortable in your seat, finding the support perhaps behind you, in your back. And feeling the back of your legs and your sit bones in the seat. Your feet on the floor. And the sense of the weight of your body resting in the seat. And consciously taking some slower, fuller breaths. And bringing awareness to that movement of breathing, sensations of breathing. Utilizing the movements of breath to help you more fully connect with the body. To let awareness gently flow down into the body. To open throughout the body. Through the head, the shoulders, the arms, the chest and the upper back, the belly, the lower back, the hips and the pelvic region, the thighs, the knees, the lower legs and the feet. Letting awareness inhabit the whole body. And noticing movements of breathing throughout the body. And taking a few moments to notice how you are feeling right now. Without needing to do anything with that, without needing to worry about it, analyze it or fix it. Just giving a little mental nod, acknowledgement, a little smile to how you're feeling right now. And just breathing with that. And then in a moment you hear the sound of the gong. So, and then just at your own pace, gently transitioning out of that relative stillness. And opening your eyes. So Kate has joined us as well. It's a bit of a reunion here. Hi, Kate. Lovely to see you. You're on your iPhone. You're in, what's that, portrait view? Good. All right. So, so let's delve into this topic, feeling tone or hedonic tone. So what is meant by feeling tone or hedonic tone? So it's not emotions, it's not what we normally might call feelings in daily life. So it's quite a bit more subtle than that, and also kind of more primary. So it's the first kind of bodily felt sense that arises when there is contact with some stimulus, some input, when we see something or hear something. And it goes very quickly, and it's very kind of biological. We don't have much choice over it. It is what we call a gut feeling about something. We walk into some space we might not have been before, and get some kind of bodily feeling about it. Or sometimes it can be quite clear when we meet a person and say, "Oh, I just had a maybe a bad gut feeling from this person, maybe a really good one." Yeah? Somewhere we might quite instantly might feel quite a good feeling about someone, quite a pleasant felt sense of it. And anyway, each experience has a feeling tone. It has a bodily felt sense to it, and often we're not quite aware of that feeling tone, and we're also not quite aware of how that is actually affecting our mental state, and often also our behavior. So let's experiment a bit more with trying to capture feeling tone and what's actually meant with that experientially. So if you want to all close your eyes again. And letting awareness drop into the body again. And often feeling tone is happening somewhere in the torso, sometimes in the face, So just letting your attention globally rest in that place of the body, in the torso, the upper body, and in the face. And then start to imagine the best you can your favorite person walking into the house. And notice what happens in your body. Imagining your favorite person walking into the house, into the kitchen. Maybe smiling at you, spreading their arms. And then shifting. So I'm starting to picture that politician, one of the politicians that you really dislike. And the one that you are, whose party you are definitely not going to vote for. But just imagine that politician's face when you hear him or her talk. Just notice what happens in your body. Where do you feel that? What kind of bodily felt sense happens? And then taking a deeper breath. And then tuning into the sensations of your hands resting on your lap or wherever they are. Just noticing that sensation of touch and the qualities of that feeling tone it gives rise to. And then you might have noticed by now that feeling tones come in a few tastes. So feeling tone can either be pleasant, it can be unpleasant, and it can be neutral. And we probably went through an example of each of those three kind of tones, feeling tones. And pleasant for the favorite person, unpleasant for that disliked politician, and probably fairly neutral feeling tone of your hands resting wherever they are. Well, let's try this out a little bit more. So imagine the sound of birds in the forest, walking in the forest or sitting in the forest, and hearing the sounds of the birds. Lots of different sounds. Perhaps there's also smells in the forest. Notice the feeling tone that generates for you. And now imagine the sound of a motorbike club driving past your house at 7 o'clock in the morning. Big motorbike club who like noisy bikes driving past your house early in the morning. And notice what that evokes in your body. And maybe noticing too what happens next, thoughts arising. maybe some impulse arising. Now, letting go of that, and starting to imagine the sound of a dripping tap. And then imagine being in the kitchen and a big cockroach walking across the kitchen sink. What does that evoke in you? Notice the feeling tone in the body from that. Perhaps the impulse that arises with that. And then imagine, well, this is the last one, imagine a cat walking into the room. Fluffy cat going round, rubbing itself against your legs. And notice, best you can, that feeling tone, the subtle bodily response, or maybe not so subtle bodily response that arises for you with that. And then the very last one, maybe finishing on a pleasant feeling tone, thinking of your favorite food. A plate, a bowl of your favorite food right in front of you, all for you. And then in a moment, I'm going to ring the bell. Maybe noticing if that evokes a particular feeling tone for you. Okay. Hi, Denise. Welcome. You want to turn your video on for a moment and wave at us? All right. Okay, so let's have a little chat about that exercise. So, yeah, who could notice that kind of difference in feeling tone between the different visualizations, the different stimuli?
The strongest reactions with the dislikes.
Yeah, they were stronger. Yeah. Did others notice that too? Like unpleasant feeling tones were generally stronger than the pleasant ones? Yeah.
Not for me.
Not
no.
for you, no.
No, like I don't get feelings in my body at all, and I never have been able to. I can only ever sense a feeling on my face.
Okay.
So I feel like automatically if I'm disgusted with something or if I'm happy with something, my mouth will smile.
It's in a facial expression, right?
Yeah. So when I
Interesting.
visualize my favorite person, I was like, oh.
Big smile, yeah. Both quite strong. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, apparently, but I haven't kind of checked it myself, but it's from some research, is that in general, pleasant feeling tones, they kind of register more easily with us, or unpleasant feeling tones. Yeah, they kind of register more easily, more quickly. And also, for a pleasant feeling tone, it needs to be somewhere around 5 on a scale of 10 for us to really notice that in daily life. Of unpleasant feeling tone, we notice it when it's at level 1. We notice unpleasant feeling tone straight away. And so from some studies that they did, yeah. Poor Kate's dropped out again. I think her phone is not collaborating very much today. Any other observations about these feeling tones? Well, not at this point. Did anybody notice too that when you stayed with the impulse that the feeling tone changed in some way? That it changed in quality, or that it got less intense or more intense? Not really. Okay. Well, we might just explore that a little bit more later. So a few points about feeling tones. So they can be very subtle, but they can also be quite strong. Did anybody have, with these examples we just did have one that had quite a strong feeling tone for them?
The politician for me.
Yeah. Me too, yeah. I feel my face go. Yeah.
I physically shuddered and then had a sick feeling in my stomach.
Yeah, that's right. So it can be subtle, but it can be quite strong. Yeah. The other thing about feeling tone is that it is really automatic. We don't kind of get to choose feeling tone. When the picture of that politician pops up, this kind of feeling tone arises straight away. And so we don't kind of get to choose that. Which also brings us then to the next thing, that some feeling tones are quite conditioned. The fact that we get this unpleasant feeling tone or this pleasant feeling tone with a particular person is because we've had certain experiences with them. We learn to, this is same as classic conditioning with Pavlov's dogs. We learn to associate this particular person with either something pleasant or something unpleasant. So as soon as we're exposed to the picture or the voice of this, or even the name of this politician, this automatic feeling tone arises straight away because of that past experience. So yeah, any comments about that, or questions, or reflections?
No, I did want to ask you why I don't feel anything in my body. Why?
Yeah.
Why would that be?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and maybe something to discuss outside of this session. Because and I don't know. I'm quite sure that when sensations are quite strong, you can feel it. Like when you're sitting there right now, can you feel, for example, your back resting against the back of the chair? Yeah, you feel that. Yeah.
But I have to really think about it, like really focus in on that area.
Really focus on it. Yeah. Sometimes for a number of reasons, we've kind of unconsciously trained ourselves to be quite cut off from what's happening in our body, particularly if we've had a lot of painful experiences, either physically painful or emotionally painful, and we can, as a defense, as a protective mechanism, we can learn to kind of cut off quite a bit from what's going on here, and kind of live up in our head, and so we don't have to feel what's going on in the rest of our body. And in a way, we kind of cut ourselves off from some emotion there usually too. So yeah. It's worthwhile to explore, but let's do that outside of this session. Okay, good. So why is feeling tone important? It's particularly important because of what happens next, or what's the tendency to happen next for us. So as I said, feeling tone is very automatic, it's very conditioned, we don't get to choose it, and what happens next is also quite very conditioned and programmed by Mother Nature. So when there's a pleasant feeling tone, something generates a pleasant feeling tone for us, the tendency for us is to want to move towards that, to want more of it, to grab hold of it, and to want to hold on to it. I think an animal that sees food, or beeline towards that food. So it's a very primary kind of impulse that helps us with survival. We learn through that impulse. We learn that certain things are good for us. We're thinking of two friends of mine have just both got babies, and it's kind of interesting to see those babies discovering food. My friend giving her baby avocado, and this baby going, "What's that weird stuff you're putting in my mouth? This is not milk." But them kind of going, it generates pleasant feeling tone for him. So he went, "Oh yeah, nom, 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 nom." So that's how we kind of learn that, okay, this is good for me. I'll have more of that. Thank you. Unpleasant feeling tone it tends to really drive us to want to move away from that particular impulse, that particular stimuli, that creates that unpleasant feeling tone. So you might have noticed, I noticed with the politician too, that I was kind of moving backwards in the chair. I really wanted to get away, as if the image was over here somewhere. And maybe you noticed too, with did anybody have with the image of the cat is always an interesting one. This is where the group separating cat lovers and cat haters. For some people, it generates, oh yes, cat, oh yum, a pleasant feeling tone. And other people might kind of go, oh, maybe allergic to cats. And so when there's that kind of unpleasant feeling tone, you want to move away from that, and also from the cockroach, probably. And that's, of course, also very useful for survival. So that very instinctively and automatically drawing away from something that generates an unpleasant feeling tone for us. For example, when we step on something sharp, it generates very unpleasant feeling tone in the sole of our foot that often shoots up further through our body. And without even thinking about it, we've taken the weight of that foot and shifted weight off that. Probably, or hopefully, preventing injury to that foot by a very quick reflex. So basically quite useful that there's that kind of programming by Mother Nature. And we share that with all living, with all animals, basically. And then with neutral feeling tone, we're kind of programmed to just ignore that, basically. It's there, but it's not important because it's neither pleasant or unpleasant. So our mind tends to ignore unpleasant feeling tone. if you bring your awareness now to the sensation of your buttocks pressing in the seat. Yeah, that's probably actually quite a strong feeling tone, but it's probably also quite neutral. It's just kind of there. And before I ask you to pay attention to it, you probably didn't notice it. Would that be right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Denise.
I'm getting towards the video.
Okay.
My time. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Denise. Great that you're joining us. It's lovely. Yeah. So any other thoughts about, any other reflections on what I just said about how feeling tones program us or kind of drive us in this very automatic way to move towards pleasant, to want to move away from unpleasant, and to ignore neutral feeling tone. Thoughts about that? Yeah, Kate, hi. I'll unmute you so we can hear you. Hi, Kate.
Hi there. I was just going to query, when someone says of another, they have an instinctual dislike for them.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think of that feeling tone. And
yes, yeah.
Yeah, there's not much as the person who might be receiving their dislike you can do about that in general terms, but also in a biological, physiological kind of frame, like, you know, they'd have to choose to override their dislike.
Yeah. Maybe question, you know, what's that about? You know, does she remind me? Does he remind me of somebody else? Yeah, and sometimes, you know, it might be justified, but it can also be completely, you know, just they remind you of their mother or whatever.
But there's nothing that we can do about that if another person decides or reacts in a way that appears to be an instinctual kind of discomfort with you.
You know, staying calm is one thing that can always help. And, you know, if possible, we can, of course, you know, ask the other person or share with the other person, like, gosh, you seem to have quite a strong reaction to what I just said or did, and I don't quite understand where that's coming from. You know, something like that. But yeah, it's tricky in a way when the other person is not able or willing to look at themselves. It's tricky. You gotta kind of go, well, okay, that's their stuff and not mine. I'll try not to take it on board. Yeah, hopefully, if you keep interacting with them, they might realize that, you know, you are you and not, you know, this other person that they might be, you know, reminded of by seeing you. Yeah, yeah, okay, good. Right. So, so awareness of the kind of feeling tone that stimuli evoke for us can be quite important because of that automatic reaction of moving towards or moving away from something that then follows. It can be quite useful because once we're aware of that feeling tone and also had automaticity of wanting to move towards or move away, we can make a more conscious choice. We can choose to go with that automatic impulse, or we can choose to do something else. So we can connect with our values and kind of go, well, no, I very much feel like doing this now, but I'm not going to because it's not in line with my values. Yeah. For example, we might have all heard that if you want to have a good night's sleep, it's not a good idea to be on your device the last half hour, or some people say 2 hours before going to bed. And then here your phone is lying on your bedside table and you see, oh, somebody sent a message, and they found in studies one of the ways where phones can be quite addictive and pull us in is because we get a little release of feel-good hormones. Hey, when we see a little message there, somebody's giving us some attention, there's some sense of connection. So we see that phone and we see the little red thingy, and it evokes a pleasant feeling tone. It evokes the expectation this is going to be pleasant. And so that's one of those moments where it can be very useful to be very aware of that, pleasant feeling tone I want to move towards. But to go, no, but knowing that if I pick up the phone, I'm going to be sucked in there, I'm going to be on Facebook for half an hour, and then I will be awake at 3 o'clock at night. So I'm going to resist that urge now to pick up my phone and go in there. It's a going against that conditioning, that automaticity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good, great. And had to be consciously aware of unpleasant feeling tones and how that can set us up to want to move away from something, or to start fighting with it, or to want to avoid it, or to do something to make that unpleasant feeling tone go away. Can be very useful as well. And I think an example we can all recognize is that if we need to we make a difficult phone call or start on some kind of unpleasant job or project or something like that, we can very easily go into a procrastination, kind of putting that off. And how that kind of workaround mechanism, how that works is, so we think of, I should be doing such and such or such, make that phone call, whatever, evokes an unpleasant feeling tone, which is what we don't want, and we want to make that go away. So then before we know it, we've come up with some kind of excuse why we can do it tomorrow or next week or whatever. And the trick is to kind of notice that, that, okay, yes, thinking of starting this job or this little task or big task, whatever it is, or making this phone call, making me feel a bit, anxious or whatever. But I know that I need to do it anyway. Once I've done it, I'll feel good about it. There's this big payoff, whatever. We kind of connect with some higher values with a bit of a wider perspective. And then we might make that choice to go and do it, have to feel the unpleasantness, but go forward anyway, had to move towards anyway. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's do some experiments with this. So I hope you all read the instructions in the email that was sent out, to have 2 items ready here, a clothes peg and your favorite food, your favorite food or your favorite drink. Hi, Denise. Hi, sweetie. So I've got licorice here, which is my favorite, but it's very sticky to eat, so I'm just going to settle for a grape. So has everybody got those 2 items? If you don't, just take a minute to grab that. Mm-hmm. So it was quite interesting with these online fora. I find that and you get a chance to see each other's home life a bit, like the lounge and the paintings, pictures on the walls, often animals and people sharing the house will feature in the video conference as well. Gives a bit of a personal tone to it. I always find you might have heard weird sounds here. That's my dog underneath the desk here, who's got a owie paw that she's licking a lot. All right. Sorry?
Oh, that was my son. Sorry.
Oh, okay, that's all right. I thought I heard a man's voice there. Okay, so let's begin with a pleasant feeling tone. So if you want to get your favorite food or drink here in front of you, and just beginning by looking at it. And then taking one bite or one sip out of your favorite food. Just paying attention to feeling tone. You might notice impulse to have more straight away. So we're not doing that. We're kind of resisting that. Having more impulse, just kind of savoring his first bite, his first sip. And let's take another bite. Paying attention to what that's like, to the taste, and to what happens next. And let's do that one more time. So taking one more sip or one more bite. Okay, very good. So what did you notice there about that pleasant feeling tone and any kind of reactions that came after? Anyone?
I just noticed what you already said, and that as soon as I took one sniff of it, I just immediately went back for more. And then you said that about refraining, and I was like, oh God, that's right. So it was just automatic. I just automatically reacted without thinking and just kept going like I do when I eat. And I just think, oh yeah, I'll have another bite.
That's right.
Really...
Yeah. Great, yeah. Anybody else notice that? Yeah. Yeah. Me too, yeah. So I was having grapes, and they're sitting on the kitchen table, and I've noticed every time I come past, I'll grab a handful, and I don't just take one, but 5 or something like that, and then end up eating quite a bit. Same with the licorice. I don't actually taste them much when I'm eating them, but this bag empties out very quickly if I don't pay attention. So this paying attention to feeling tone can be quite helpful with things like eating. If we tend to mindlessly stuff our face and eat too much, actually slowing down and paying attention more to the taste, to what happens internally. is actually quite a powerful way to make sure that we actually tends to reduce intake. We don't eat more than we actually really need. Often also our preferences for food can change, that we're noticing when we pay attention to certain foods that actually doesn't taste as nice as I thought they were, or there's this after effect where I feel nauseous or over full that I hadn't realized, because I was kind of so driven by just wanting more of it that I wasn't actually noticing what was actually really happening from eating it. Okay, great. So let's do unpleasant feeling tone. Are we going for time? Oh, yeah, we've got some time. So some of you might have done that exercise with me before. You've definitely done that, Melinda, because you were here a few weeks ago. So I'm going to go to the closed peg. So this is unpleasant feeling tone. Okay. So what we're going to do is to put this closed peg, we're going to deliberately generate an unpleasant feeling tone. So we're going to place that closed peg on our ear and just notice what happens. If it doesn't actually generate an unpleasant feeling tone, fiddle around with it a bit so it's maybe sitting on the cartilage, so it is a bit more unpleasant. If it's too unpleasant that it's really making you hold your breath, and just put it on your finger or something. So let's just take it off for a second. All right, so you've kind of found everybody found their spot, their owie spot, yeah. Okay, so let's do that again, and really paying attention to what happens. See if you can notice that that impulse to want to do something to make this go away. And we can also react to particularly discomfort in the body with kind of bracing. I was noticing my shoulders tensing up and my breath getting a bit shallow. There might be some reflex to want to fight or to get worried about the sensation. Are we noticing any thoughts that are happening, even maybe emotions? And then seeing what happens when you bring kind of acceptance to these bodily sensations in your ear and maybe elsewhere that have been generated. Kind of just be curious about what it feels like. Letting the sensations be here and breathing with them. Kind of imagining or sensing your body relaxing around these sensations. Noticing what the sensations are actually like when you sense into it quite closely. Sense of probably heat or warmth, pulsating. Notice what happens to that feeling tone. Are you noticing anything changing? Sometimes there's some change on the rhythm of the breath. And then we're just consciously going to remove the peg from the ear. Just notice what that's like. What that evokes in you, the response in the body. Taking some deeper, slower breaths, maybe rolling the shoulders a little bit. And then when you're ready, opening your eyes. So, how was that? What did you notice in that exercise? I'd love to hear from a few people.
I noticed the first time I took the peg away, I wanted to scratch my ear.
Okay, yeah.
And then we put it back on, it was intense pain.
Mm.
But then after a time, the intensity disappeared.
Mm.
When I took the peg away the last time, my ear's fine.
Mm. Mm.
Whether it's numb or not.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But I didn't need to touch it to get it circulating or
yes. You noticed initially there was when you took it off the first time, there was that itch, and then immediately that what a scratch. That's that I want to make the itch go away. There's that automaticity, and the second time wasn't there. And you also noticed initially there was quite a bit of discomfort, pain.
yes.
But then over time, that pain actually kind of softened, dissolved to some degree.
Yes.
Yeah.
It softened.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting, huh? Yeah. Yeah, so pain is one of the signals, the ways that our brain and our body kind of communicate with each other to protect us, to keep us safe. So brain signaling actually happens in our brain as a response to signals coming from the body. And so initially, with this kind of experiment, our brain kind of goes, pain, get it off. It's not good. But then when we kind of stay with it and we kind of stay calm in a way, we're telling our brain like, it's all right, it's no big deal. And then the brain kind of goes, oh, all right, well, I'll stop making such a noise then. And experience of pain actually then softens. It's just sensations, just heat, bit of pulsating. Doesn't always happen, and doesn't always happen so easily, but it's a basic mechanism. It's definitely possible. Yeah. So what did other people notice? Did anybody have the kind of similar experience to Tammy?
Yes, I actually was enjoying the relief. The pain's there. I could breathe through the pain, and it was relieving the pain. I'd forgotten about doing that.
You've forgotten about doing that.
Because I have pain in my body a lot. So noticing when I make the pain on myself, forgetting about, if I can breathe through this pain, it actually lessens,
softens.
Even though the pain is still there, it's not anywhere near as intense.
Great. So good reminder for you, good, great. Did anybody have a different experience where maybe it got worse, or where it was felt this sense coming up, I can't stand this kind of thing? We're all pretty stoic. Okay. Excellent. All right, great. So, how much time? I've just got a few minutes left. So, just a few comments to close. So, how is this important in daily life? Well, I gave some examples with eating, for example, and with pain, for example, is another great example how we can use working with unpleasant feelings in a very conscious way, that makes a difference. What's also good to know is that a feeling tone is often the start of what can then turn into more of a full-blown emotion. For example, with the exercise we did, thinking of the motorbike club driving past your house at 7 o'clock in the morning, so evokes unpleasant feeling tone in the body, and it can easily go into some mental commentary going, bloody hell, do I need to do that? And then some irritation or anger arising. And so that happens a lot in daily life, where something generates a little bit of in our bodies, and then if we're not aware, it can turn quite easily into irritation, anger, or shame, or anxiety, or some other more full-blown emotion. Okay. So one way where we can work consciously in our daily life with feeling tones, you might want to write this down as a little home practice for the next week or month or lifetime. So practicing being able to catch feeling tones without letting yourself automatically go into those kind of programmed responses. So can you notice a pleasant feeling tone without then going into I want to stuff my face, or I want to take it home, or I want to hold on to it? To just enjoy, really enjoy the pleasant feeling tone, enjoy the experience, but to stay with the experience and not going into, I want more, I want to keep it, I want to hold on to it. With unpleasant feeling tone, the exploration is to note, can you notice it stimulated, evoke an unpleasant feeling tone in you, and make a conscious choice on, okay, what to do right now. Am I gonna move away now from it, or am I gonna actually, I'm gonna move forward, I'm gonna now go and talk to this person, or I'm gonna try and accept that this is unpleasant feeling tone is here right now, and relax into it. This is part of life, bringing some self-compassion to ourselves, and letting the unpleasant tone be here without going into some unconscious automatic reaction, but making a more conscious choice on what's the reaction actually want to do right now. If I check in with my values, what's the best thing to do here right now? And neutral feeling tones. Sometimes that can be, what can be interesting is experiment with boredom here. When we are somewhere, we have to wait, and lots of neutral feeling tones just sitting there, nothing much happening. Can we be there in that neutral kind of space without getting bored, without then getting frustrated, irritated, without going to check our device or something like that, and to just be with, neutral feeling tone and see what it's like. Does that make sense? That's home exercises. Yes. Okay, great, excellent. All right. Are there any questions right now, or any comments? I'm just checking the time. Okay, hang on, Kate. I'll just unmute you. Yeah, what did you want to ask, Kate?
I just wanted to, recap some of the homework tasks. It was around noticing
Mm-hmm.
with developing or blowing into the full emotion. So it was about the mindful sort of process of noticing and pausing and then choosing. So was that for all of them? Was that for the neutral, the pleasant and the unpleasant?
Yes, so the neutral and the pleasant are less likely to generate kind of problematic responses. Unless you've got a major addiction running or something. But it's particularly unpleasant feeling tone that can be quite useful to explore in daily life. Can I notice unpleasant feeling tone and just notice how that is on a bodily felt level without going into this automatic reactivity or automatic behavior.
So how is that different to mindfulness, though, what you're asking us to do?
It is an aspect of the mindfulness practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the noticing and labeling pleasant, unpleasant, neutral.
Yeah, and that conscious choice. It opens up a space between stimulus and response. A good example Tammy was giving before is she noticed her ear, itch in the ear, and there was this impulse to scratch. That stimulus response, there's no space. But actually in this case, because Tammy was paying attention, she noticed that impulse to scratch and didn't do it. Not that scratching would have been a major drama in this case, but through paying conscious attention, a space opens up between that impulse and the unpleasant feeling tone and the reaction that we choose. And the reaction, rather than a knee-jerk reaction, an automatic reaction, becomes a response, a conscious response that we choose what we do. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So feeling tone is the second foundation of mindfulness. So there's 4 foundations of mindfulness, and the feeling tone is the second foundation of mindfulness. So it's quite an important area of practice. And I won't go into all the other foundations because that's another session. But it's noticing and working consciously with feeling tone is an important aspect of mindfulness practice. Okay, so we need to finish. So thank you, everyone. Lovely to see a few familiar faces here. And yeah, all the best with that little exploration in your daily life. And do feel free to be in touch. Email me or give me a ring if you want to, talk about it, have some questions about it. Would like some help maybe with it. All right.
Thanks, Astrid.
Okay. Thanks,
Bye, everybody.